So here I am with an 1.25" dowel. It's basically a closet pole, standard stock. I think this piece of wood cost me, I think $6 at the hardware store. And what I want to try to create is a Tai Chi bang stick, or spelled B-A-N-G, so it looks like bang stick. And there's a little bit of a difference between a bang stick and a ruler, a Tai Chi ruler, a Chinese Tai Chi bang stick. They both do similar things, and they're made slightly different, but the bang stick is going to be a lot easier to make. I'll show examples of the bang stick versus the ruler. Okay, so the next thing is the actual size. Now the bang stick is roughly, I was told and taught that it is approximately the size of your forearm. So if you measure from elbow to approximate wrist, I'm laying that on the tape, that's roughly 12 inches. Now the ruler itself is exactly 12 inches, and the rulers, the Tai Chi rulers, will have the widened ends out here though. The widened ends out here, and the center will have usually a ball or a cutout here. But the stick, I'm just going to make a very plain stick, and again, being my forearm is about 12 inches, but I'm actually going to go a couple more. So I'm actually going to go to 14 inches. So I'm going to get a pencil, and I'm going to mark it exactly. I want to try to be somewhat accurate. I mean, I don't have the proper instruments to make it fully balanced, but I'm going to try my darndest here. So I'm going to go to 14 inches. Mark one side here. Okay, what I like to do now is I like to put it in a vise to hold it nice and straight. And I tend to wrap it with fabric. Sometimes I use a rubber glove to really hold it because I don't want to damage the wood in the vise. And, you know, of course, you got to use good tools. So I have a nice sharp saw here. And I want to make this as even and as nice of a cut as I can. So I will use my 14-inch line here. And again, keeping the saw up straight and stuff. We'll be straightening this out with a sander later. But basically, you want to start on the 14-inch mark. And what I do with all cutting is I tend to start going backwards first to initiate the cut. And that kind of gives it a nice clean groove. And then let the saw do the work. Nice, even cuts. Nice and smooth. Keep it all lined up nice and straight, nice and center. Next thing would be to sand the ends. We want to make them nice and round and smooth. So we're going to use an electric sander here with a fine grit, and we're going to sand the edges. Okay, so doing this sanding on the ends makes them nice and smooth. You know, because when you're rubbing these things across your hand, you don't want them cutting into your hand. Go over this with a sanding tool like this, the sanding block. We're going to go over it nice and lightly to make sure that everything is nice, clean, and smooth. Okay, now that they're all hand sanded, nice and smooth, I'm going to clean them off with a cloth. Just wipe them off, wipe all the grit off of them. Make sure they're nice and clean. Okay, so now we have the three sticks, the three bang sticks. They're nice and clean, nice and sanded, nice smooth edges, so they won't cut your hands, they won't splinter in your hands. So now we're going to actually start to decorate these a little bit. So what's next? We're going to measure the halfway point with the stick, and we're going to balance them exactly in the middle. So in this case here, they're exactly 14 inches. So what I'm going to do is take the halfway point between the 14 inches, and that would be 7. So I'm going to make a very light pencil mark at 7 because you don't want it too deep because we're going to want to sand this off or get rid of it later. So we're going to make some small marks here, 7 mark. Okay, so I've got the middles marked on these with some light pencil marks. Now the whole idea with a bang stick or a Tai Chi ruler is it's supposed to be perfectly balanced. So if you hold this on the nail, it's completely balanced. Now why would it be balanced? Well, basically it's like, from what I read, it's the yin-yang. It's you know, the balance of two forces. It also is going to help our hand technique and hand positioning. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to use the bench grinder, and I'm going to actually carve some slight light grooves right in the middle here. So now we have the nice grooves. I centered some on the middle here, a balanced center, and then I actually put a few grooves on the ends too. So now I'm going to hand sand it again, kind of go over it, make sure there's no rough spots, and then we're going to start painting it. So what's next for our bong sticks? Okay, so we got the grooves cut in them. Okay, they're balanced in the middle. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to design each one of these a little bit differently. So I don't know. I'm just going to get creative and start just making something cool out of each and every one of these. Alright, so we're going to try this out. We're going to try the Dremel Tool. I'm going to use this little bit here. It's kind of like a drill bit. What that's going to do is kind of make some grooves. So one of these, I'm just going to make some cool little scratch marks going across this particular stick, because we're going to come up with a different design for each one. So let's get started. Let's see what this looks like. This one here, I'm going to use the blowtorch, and I'm going to kind of give it some burn marks. Which is kind of cool because it kind of gives away the nice grains of the wood. And all you do is you just lightly go over it. There, so that one there looks pretty cool. Kind of gives it a, I don't know, just gives it a different look. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stain and varnish over the top of that to protect it. That definitely has a cool different look. There, so that one there has some cool little grooves cut out inside of it, all along the outer edge. I try not to go too deep because you don't want splintering when you're working with these. You don't want those jamming in your fingers. So now I have the grooved one that's cut out, I have the burned one, and I have the plain one. So next, I'm going to get some stain and add some color and some varnish to protect them. Next we're going to add some stain. I got some red mahogany here, so I'm going to use a rag here for this, and I'm going to start applying it on the wood. And there we have it. So we have the stain protecting them all. So we have the grooved out version, we have the smoked wood version, and we have the plain version. So the next step is going to be to get some spray urethane, and I'm going to spray these and give them a nice coat, make them nice and shiny, protect them, and actually prevents slivers or splinters from coming up. So there they are, the Tai Chi bong sticks, the final products. We have three variations. We've got the charred ones, the charred blackened ones with the groove. They're nicely varnished, which means they're going to be nicely protected, so they'll last for years to come. We've got the etched one with the etchings in the wood. See that up close? It's a little bit of a different look, and of course now we have the plain one too, plain and simple. So that's pretty much how you make the Tai Chi bong stick.